Today, we speak with Jason Brown, CEO of MRO, a company transforming how clinical data is exchanged for health systems and providers. MRO's technology integrates with over 250 EHRs to help providers securely manage and share more than 1 billion clinical records, driving better clinical and financial outcomes. Jason brings more than 2 decades of leadership experience scaling healthcare technology companies. Before joining MRO, he served as CEO of Discovery Health Partners, which was acquired by MultiPlan in 2021, and held senior roles at Evolent Health, Valence Health, and MedAssets. I'm your host, RJ Lumba. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you like the episode, click to follow.
RJ Lumba is the executive chairman of Market Insight Media and managing partner of GrowthCap. He is the host of Key Executives, a podcast for driven executives and business operators. Our podcast covers all topics related to effective business leadership, from strategy and culture to products and services to sales and marketing and everything in between. In the minutes ahead, we'll share with you unique insights and tactics from some of today's most accomplished and inspiring executives.
Jason, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. It's a delight to be with you.
Likewise. Thank you for having us.
So I was trying to figure out where to start the conversation because you have a long history in healthcare, in leadership positions, growing companies. Maybe a good place to start is what brought you to MRO? I believe it was back in 2022, around that time frame. You had come off the sale of a prior company. And so you presumably had your pick of what you wanted to do next. Why did you choose MRO? What brought you to it?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So I'd been in healthcare for space for 20 plus years across providers, payers, value-based care work. And as you mentioned, I just sold a payment integrity business to a company called Discovery Health Partners to MultiPlan. And in my prior 20 plus years of healthcare, one of the things that I really noticed was an industry opportunity, which is kind of notion of interoperability. And specifically, in healthcare, we use claims data for a lot of use cases that would be better supported by clinical data. And the constraint here, claims data is, affordable, it's ubiquitous, it's easy, kind of standardized. And if we could get that same level of liquidity for clinical data, we could make much better healthcare decisions, whether that's around clinical decisions or administrative decisions, revenue cycle, value-based care, ... And so MRO grew up in the release of information space. And I would say we were adjacent to all these things and we really have been helping providers for 20 plus years manage that exchange of getting clinical data, principally EMR data, not entirely EMR data, out of their systems for a couple of use cases. And the thing that struck me and the thesis from our investors was if we could really introduce technology into this process, we could really start to help the healthcare industry unlock this trapped data that was sitting in these, siloed systems, in some cases still sitting in file cabinets and sitting in various different disparate places, and make that data more available across the healthcare ecosystem, kind of in a high fidelity, low latency way by really unlocking those systems. So that felt like a really big kind of problem to tackle. And so as a business professional, you like to tackle big problems. And it also felt like one that would be highly impactful, or I knew would be highly impactful to the healthcare ecosystem if we were able to be successful. So it was meaningful mission as well. And I thought MRO was a really good vantage point or starting point to build out on that journey. And 3 years later, we haven't fully cracked the code, but we are on that journey and doing a lot of good work. And hopefully I know our providers and payer client partners appreciate the work that we're doing. But that's what really got me here and is what keeps me excited about the mission and opportunity in front of us.
And the company is supported by a private equity backer, Parthenon, a growth-oriented capital provider.
That's right.
And so you have to your disposal different tactics to pursue organic as well as inorganic. And I know you've been making some acquisitions. If we were to look at the composition of the company today, the solutions it provides, how would you characterize it? Maybe we can start with the most prevalent to maybe the more emerging?
Yeah. No, great question. So the way we think about the business, kind of broad enterprise clinical data management platform, helping providers, payers, and other consumers of clinical data get, again, that kind of low latency, high fidelity, secure, compliant access to clinical data for a number of use cases, which we can talk about. And then that kind of breaks down into two business units within the company. One, which we call Exchange Solutions, which is all about how do we do that clinical data exchange on behalf of providers, helping them with use cases like continuity of care, helping them manage their payer partner relationships for things like revenue cycle and supporting claims and denials and making sure they get paid the right amount for the clinically necessary services that they render. And so that's probably about 60% of our business today. And then we have a curation solutions business, which is all about how do we support providers improving their clinical operations and supporting their quality registry submissions for big service lines like oncology, cardiology. And so we are supporting that work and helping them improve those service lines to drive better patient outcomes within their provider networks. And as part of that core work, we then support payers and other parties. So payers, we support them with their risk and quality efforts. And we are increasingly growing into other kind of emerging solutions, for instance, like helping life sciences firms identify patients that meet certain criteria for clinical trials. And so we can leverage our connectivity and access with providers to be able to empower or power all these downstream use cases that the whole healthcare ecosystem can benefit from if we can leverage and unlock the clinical data that resides in all these systems. And so that's the business today. We'll continue to expand out in a lot of these other use cases like life sciences. We'll continue to expand within our payer client partners as well as our provider client partners.
I'm curious because the topic du jour is AI and how each health tech company is approaching AI. Do you think it's an imminent thing? Is it a gradual, iterative process? How are you incorporating AI into your everyday?
So, like everyone, we are on this journey and diving in relatively aggressively. And so I would think about it in a couple of different categories. There's one, how are we just adopting AI in our core business processes? So it's how do we use it to code quicker, faster, better? How do we use it in our financial operations, legal operations, call center operations? So there's all that kind of, can you consume AI as it's being developed from your partners that you work with to improve your business operations? And then the area that we're probably most excited about, as most people are, is that how you fuse AI into your core solutions or develop new solutions on top of AI, whether that be Copilot type solutions or agentic solutions. And so what we've been able to do is run a host of early, what I would say are experiments, leveraging AI to allow us to do what we do better, faster, with kind of higher fidelity. So about 6 months ago, we released an AI product that helps us do a lot of the quality controls that we had been doing with some technology and with manual work, but we're doing a sampling of records or data that we may send out for QC. Now with AI, we've been able to go deeper, look at more records, increase the fidelity of the QC that we're doing. We're increasing to invest in AI and other automation opportunities to make sure that we can develop or to ensure that we're developing better solutions on top of our core offerings today. And so we've got a number of pilots in the market right now where we're leveraging AI to enhance our existing capabilities. So early returns are very exciting. We think there's a lot of potential and promise in AI. And like most people, I think we're still in the early days of building, testing, learning, experimenting, and going on that journey with our clients too. Obviously, providers are doing that same thing within their four walls. And so we want to make sure that we are aligned with them as we go on that journey with them to be able to deploy these solutions.
You're a corporate leader multiple times over, and I'd be interested to hear about your maybe reflections on your time as a leader earlier in your career, leading a big group versus now, and what you pay more attention to now and what maybe you pay less attention to that you paid a lot of attention to in the beginning.
I think, early on, well, you never stop kind of feeling all the, I would say, nervousness of running an organization and the weight and pressure of that. But as you've done it a little bit more, you've got pattern recognition and you feel, I guess, a little bit more confident in seats. So that's probably one thing. But I would certainly say that the thing I probably index more towards now than I didn't before is around culture, team building, team leadership. I mean, I grew up, started my career in strategy and M&A, and so kind of led with that analytical part early in my career, and probably in my first leadership role, you kind of still lean on that. Now, I would say it's almost the other. It's all about teams, all about culture. It's how are people feeling? And if anybody knows me like that, tapping into that part of me is not natural. But I was telling a friend here recently, like, I feel like probably 60% of the stuff I lean on today are lessons I learned playing sports growing up. And so, because it does become back to leadership, how do you motivate people? How do you get a group of people rowing in the same direction, working towards the same target? Help, share in the wins, acknowledge people's successes. There's all those things that now I focus more on versus early. It was like, well, what's the right answer? And of course I can lean on that and do that. But now it's really about people and team and culture.
Are there certain traits that you look for in people as you're interviewing kind of key candidates for top positions?
Humble and hungry, I think, is usually at the top of my list. Here at MRO, I think have a low ego for sure, culture, one that's always hopefully focused on the greater good. So you want people that got a lot of humility, can suppress kind of the I for we, and then hungry. Anyone that knows me, like even today, I still have a big chip on my shoulder. And so you want people that wake up every day ready to go after it. And so we've got a lot of that. And then just good athletes, like high IQ, highly capable individuals that we can stretch and grow and create more opportunities for. And so those would probably be the top of the list.
After executives achieve a certain amount of success, there is this temptation maybe to take your foot off the gas and maybe be involved in other things. I mean, you're definitely involved in other things, but what drives you?
I mentioned kind of having a chip on my shoulder. I mean, I didn't grow up with much of anything. Certainly, statistically, should not be kind of in the seat that I am. And so there's an acknowledgement that I've been fortunate, blessed to have this opportunity. I know my parents and grandparents grew up in the segregated South, and this is an opportunity my grandfather was a World War II veteran, couldn't have dreamed of even having. So you stand on their shoulders, and with the opportunity comes responsibility. And so every day I try to make good on the opportunity and the responsibility. So I'd say that's one. Two, I am like extremely competitive, probably to a fault. I don't let my kids win at anything. 4-year-old, I don't care. I'm not letting you get anything. And so that translates into business, and we've got competitors, and I think we have a better solution, and there's a bit of that. And I do think, to your point, it is a trap I've seen executives walk into. As you get more success, there's 1,000 different things you can do professionally or just hobbies. You can always find ways to spend money, and I just try to keep it simple, keep it boring. As I always say, keep the main thing, because these seats are rented. At some point I'll be done and it'll be the next generation, and they'll be in whatever, either this company or whatever this company has kind of become. So you sit in the seat for a period of time and you're a steward over it. And while you have the opportunity, be all in. And words of the great poet, philosopher Eminem, when your run is over, recognize it's at its end and, let someone else kind of play the game. So, but while I'm here, I want to be all in.
What sports did you play in your younger years?
Basketball and football. So yeah, those are my two primary sports.
Do you still play basketball or do you switch over to golf?
You got it. You need somewhere to put the competitive juices. And so golf has been my latest hobby over the last couple of years. But I had 3 boys, so they've been playing basketball and soccer, and they just started football this year. So I get to live a little bit of that vicariously through them.
Excellent. We're coming up on time. I have 2 final questions. Before I ask those, just curious if, presumably there's multiple areas of the business you're working on to help scale it. But if there was one, it's like someone once said, if you go to the constraint, focus on the constraint, and that helps unlock the business, like what would that constraint be? There's probably multiple, but is there one you're focused on?
I can't remember the name of the book, but yeah, it's like define the leverage point. And a mentor used to always say that you can find the leverage point, kind of how do you unlock that? And I think if I think about the leverage point in the kind of macro picture of what we're trying to do in terms of unlocking trapped data and making that data available, secure, compliant, it is really around automation and how are we able to safely and securely automate some of that clinical data exchange, clinical data curation to be able to help our providers and payer client partners do more faster. I always say this is an industry that's not demand constrained, it's supply constrained. Like there is vastly more demand for the data and insights that we can derive from the data. The challenge is, or the constraint is, how do you get enough of supply? I mean, the supply constraint really is about unlocking it, pulling it together from disparate systems. There's obviously a privacy security component of that, and then being able to leverage that for downstream insights, analytics, and power different use cases. So that's really been the leverage point that we've been focused on as a company over the last few years, and what's really driven a lot of the success that we've been able to have. We certainly haven't concluded the mission, but it's been a good returns on our starts.
Last two questions. One is, can you tell us about a person who has had a profound influence on you?
Yeah, I mean, I would probably always go to my mom. So grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas. My mom raised my brother and I as a single parent. She's still to this day the hardest working person I know. She's in her mid 70s. And if I call her, she's like, oh, I just ran bleachers. Like, why are you running bleachers? So just that hard work when we were kids. I mean, she was out the door 4 or 5 in the morning, go exercise, working multiple jobs, put herself back to school. I know she had to have bad days, but I don't think I ever saw my mom have a bad day. And as challenging as my brother and I were to raise, like to do all of that is just phenomenal. So when things get hard, I know like it's pales in comparison to what she went through. So that is my shiro, if you will.
Last question. Can you tell us about a charity, cause, or other endeavor that you're passionate about?
So there's probably a few in and around the Chicago area. I think the big cause that my wife and I, we really kind of try to champion is just how do you create opportunities for people that don't have them? I firmly believe kind of talent is ubiquitous. Talent is evenly divided. Opportunity is not. And then so how do you create on-ramps for opportunity, particularly in underserved communities in inner cities? And so we work with a handful of organizations in and around the Chicago area, really focused on youth development, giving youth opportunities, educational opportunities, on-the-job training opportunities, et cetera, to really be able to take that talent that they have and connect them with opportunities that often aren't easily accessible in their neighborhoods.
Excellent. Well, Jason, want to thank you again for taking the time. It's been a wonderful conversation.
No, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Have a great day.